shits and fucks, and
I'm just trying to figure out what's in her mouth.
I just want to see him interview Francesco Aquilini.
Oh, he's a good human being, is what he would say about himself, I'm sure.
Who's hosting this thing?
Take charge, Kevin, would you? Jesus.
first time we ever met those guys. That was the major drunken pub argument.
I think you guys are the worst.
I'm gonna have to probably watch some Canucks hockey, unfortunately.
Just making friends left, right, and center, and probably some enemies as well.
Tell him to shut up. He needs to hear that every once in a while.
Off to a good start.
All right. We are live.
It's okay to talk when it goes live.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hockey Podcast post-game wrap-up. We are currently, we'll address what we're doing here, but you can follow us on Twitter at podcast_hockey, facebook.com, the Hockey Podcast, youtube.com, the Hockey Podcast, where we are currently sitting at 100, and the Phil Kessel of the subscribers, jersey number 81, playing the Edmonton Oilers down 1-0 in the first intermission, as the Oilers are looking to go 4-0, but we'll address that as we go along here, maybe a little bit. But we are here to, yeah, well, that's exactly what we that's a good feeling there. We are here to recap first. The Calgary Flames got their first victory of the year, 3-0 over the Detroit Red Wings on a 33-save shutout from Jacob Markstrom. And then later on, a little bit after, Sean and Chris will be joining us to recap the Vancouver Canucks and Chicago Blackhawks. They're currently up, I want to say, 3-1 with 8 minutes to go in the period. So the Canucks looking to rebound from a bit of a tough game in Buffalo. So we'll get to that. So we'll say hello to Debbie. Hi, Debbie.
Oh, I hate that nickname, but sure, yeah. Hello, Kev.
Well, this is where I'm coming from. It is Devin. I will call you by the proper name. But when Jason Dickinson scores his first goal for the Canucks tweet out Dicky. And I'm like, can we not come up with any other nickname that doesn't end with an E? Like, do we have to name every hockey player with some sort of E, as a nickname? Chuck E. Like,
I suggested cocky. I mean, that's along the same lines. I don't know. You can message Kevin Olenek to see if you approve of that. Not Gordhow09. Kevin Olenek. All right.
I tweet Gordhow09.
Hey, don't at me, man. Don't at me.
We've got a lot to talk about. So if you have any questions, comments, etc., we'll get through the Flames here first. Then we'll get to the Canucks. But the Flames.
Hold on, Kev. Sorry. Once I don't mean to cut you off. I have a request here. I'm supposed to say hi to a Kalen, who is in Ontario right now. Whoever you are, Kalen, hello. I'm glad you're joining us. Thank you. It was a legitimate request, so hey, I gotta listen to our fans.
So Devin, you have all the fans for sure. So
other than Tyler, Mr. Fucking Hair over there.
Hair, the Hair Man.
Yeah.
But we're glad everyone is joining us. So we'll start. Yeah. So the Flames got their first win, 3-0. Lindholm scores at 10:06 from Johnny Gaudreau and Eric Gudbranson, and then Andrew Mangiapane from 14:33 from Eric Gudbranson and Dylan Dubé, and then Matthew Tkachuk got one into the empty net. And
so I did notice you said a name twice there as an assist, and who was that?
Eric Gudbranson.
Who?
Yeah, I was gonna point this out. Graham, who's in our most of an Oilers YYC podcast, I am really surprised that he did not drop Connor McDavid for this Eric Gudbranson fellow who got 2 assists. It's not like Connor's going to get any points tonight.
No, of course not. I mean, He's a piece of shit. We all know this.
No. Maybe let's. I'm gonna be. How am I gonna word this? Even though he got 2 assists tonight, I saw a lot of Flames Twitter still crapping on this guy.
Really?
Yes, because of the one giveaway he gave in the second period. That was a bit of a. It was a pizza.
Yeah.
It was a really nice pass. I think I wanted to say that was to Lucas Raymond, and he just fanned on it. Can't remember the Red Wing player that had the opportunity, but
I think it was Fabry. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like that,
right.
That's up there. Yeah.
Yeah. But I've been generally, maybe we'll start. We'll kind of get your thoughts on the game here too. But I've been generally not unimpressed with Eric Gudbranson. What I mean is, okay, look, he's a 6'5", 6'7" D in the game in this game right now. But I don't have a lot of high expectations, but I think he's done a good job for the most part. And actually, one thing that I don't think that I didn't realize, and even when I watched him with Vancouver, he is actually not. He has some offensive ability. It's not like, I'm not calling this guy like the most offensive dynamo ever, but it kind of surprised me how much he had. There was a one play I want to say this was also in the second period where he kind of came in. He had the opportunity to shoot, but he faked it and passed it to I think it was Gaudreau or Kachuk for an opportunity. So look, this guy's not great. He's not necessarily good, but I don't think he's been terrible. Does that make sense?
You know what? I've been pleasantly surprised with how well he has played. He's, you know what? The Achilles heel to the Flames defense right now has been Nikita Zadorov, and that is, I mean, not really surprising, but at the same time, as far as what we were anticipating Eric Gudbranson to be within the first few games of this year, he's been very good. This entire game, I thought he played very well. Other than that pizza up the middle, I thought that he's played that has been, as far as I'm concerned, the outlier within these first few games. I went to the game against Anaheim for the season opener at the Saddledome, and you know what? I thought he played very well. You're right. He does have some offensive. I don't know if it's offensive skill, but it's definitely not a detriment towards the offensive side of the game for the Calgary Flames. He's been around the block. He's played 566 games in the NHL. Within having that experience, you got to expect that he has some sort of feel for the game offensively. Chris Tanev last year, he had a bunch of offensive chances, I feel, and which really surprised everybody, considering how he has been so defensively driven and sound throughout his entire career. So it's one of those things where if you take care of your defensive zone, then you should have some offensive upside going the other way. And that's kind of the Sutter mentality, actually, is that if you do that, then you do have offensive chances. And Gudbranson, hats off to him. I'm very surprised that there has been so much criticism towards him this early on, considering how well he has played. And you know what? I thought he would be a bit of a lead foot out there. Cement skates, not being able to move properly. But God, that first game he was flying. The second game, I thought he played decently well. I didn't have the best view. I was right behind the net for the defensive zone for the Flames for 2 periods. But overall, I don't think that we can really criticize him too much. Yeah, you're going to have giveaways every once in a while, but there's over 300 mistakes made in an NHL game from game to game. So, you know what? It didn't result in a goal. Markstrom stopped it. So, you know what? I just enjoy the fact that we aren't really shitting on him as much as I mean, me personally, as I thought that he probably should have been or would have been when we first signed him, because I was not a happy guy when we signed him. But hey, he's been playing pretty damn well.
Okay, so two assists, +2, 4 shots on goal, which tie with someone else there. We'll get to in a second. 2 blocks, 1 giveaway, 18:45 of ice time, 22 seconds of power play time, 3:30 of shorthanded time. The guy that has been the revelation of the defense pretty much all year, and then I'm including preseason, is Oliver Kylington. And I'm just going to say it, Devin, I think he needs to stay in the top 4. I was annoyed that he only played 3 minutes and 27 seconds against the Oilers, especially a team that skates as well as the Oilers. It did not make sense to not play him as much, especially with Zadorov struggling the way it is. I didn't understand Sutter's and the coaching staff's stubbornness there. But he proved himself tonight. I thought, 4 shots on goal, 1 hit, 17:52 of ice time. Didn't get any points, but I mean, I just felt Tanev looked a lot more comfortable out there than he did with Zadorov. And just his skating has totally, either I never noticed it as much as I am now, or it's improved, because I mean, he's there was one play in the third, he definitely gets in there, sets up a play for Monahan. He's so quick now. It's just I think for me, he has got to be given a really good long look, or at least cemented a position in the top 4.
After this game, you have to. To go back to your original comment about how the coaching staff didn't get him to play more in that Oilers game. To me, it's okay, well, you have Zadorov, who has been a very prevalent NHLer throughout his entire career and has played consistently when Kylington hasn't. These first few games, it's more so, and I feel like with Sutter, he wants to see what the veterans can bring. And if the veterans falter, then he's going to give a chance to one of the young guys. And granted, that's not what happened with Zadorov, because it sounds like Zadorov is injured. He didn't practice before this game, so Kylington got the chance to play with Tanev. And once again, to your other point of Tanev feeling more comfortable with, it seemed like he looked more comfortable with Kylington, is that Kylington's more offensive. Tanev is more defensive. And the way I see it is that when you have a defensive pairing like that, with one defensive defense and one more offensive defenseman who can wheel and deal, they seem to vibe off each other a little bit better. With Zadorov being with Tanev, it's not really cohesive in that in that environment, or in that tandem, because Zadorov isn't really that offensive in comparison to Kylington. God, Kylington, it really impressed me tonight. He had. I think it was in the second period. He tried to take a shot, but the puck bounced over his stick. And I think that's just more first game jitters. Well, I guess it's technically second game jitters. But how can you get into a groove when you're only playing 3+ minutes a night? In the season opener for the Flames versus the Oilers. So the fact that he played. Do you have the number up there? How much he played?
17:52.
That's a good amount of time to get in a groove, to really start feeling out the NHL. Because realistically, how much, he hasn't played that much. He really hasn't. He hasn't had a chance to really get his footing and really solidify why he isn't a potential NHLer. And right now he looks like an NHLer. There was one move that he rushed up the ice, cut across right after the blue line in the offensive zone, came in and had a hell of a shot going far side. It was a rocket too, I want to say. It was a nice little wrister of a snapshot, and I want to see more of them. I really do. And if they don't give him that option or that shot, a goddamn crying shame. It really would be, especially the way that he played tonight. So I really hope that Sutter gives him the chance to really show what he can do for this team, and especially being paired with Brendan Tanev.
Tanev.
Sorry, God damn it, I did it. I haven't been on in how long? It's been 3 weeks, and I still do it. I still do it.
How you remember Brandon is
He's scared. He's scared of ghosts. Yes. Yeah. And he's down in Seattle. I understand. Chris Tanev. But if he stays with Chris Tanev has been proven to be a really good anchor for young defensemen. And Shillington's still young. He's in his mid-20s, and this is where he's going to shine if he's going to be staying in the NHL is with Chris Tanev. So I hope Sutter on this road trip keeps running him out there with Tanev and you see what he can do, because Shillington has been the odd man out way too many times within his career or ever since he's been drafted in the NHL. And it seems like this will be the perfect time for him to shine.
Yeah. To me, he's past Valimaki. Like, I don't think Valimaki has been terrible, but he hasn't necessarily been noticeable either. And I'm kind of in a cautious place with Juuso Valimaki at this particular point. But I think Shillington has made some huge strides. And the other guy that has made some huge strides too is Rasmus Anderson. I think he's been pretty much, I think it's fair to say he has been the best defenseman overall in all 3 games. I don't know how I feel with him and his play on the power play so far. I think that's been a bit of an issue, but other than that, his everything else I've been generally quite impressed with Rasmus Anderson. I feel like he's off to a better start than he was last year.
He's definitely off to a better start, and if he keeps on building on what he's doing and how he's approaching the game, then I think he will be the best defenseman. But I'm so impressed with Noah Hannafin. He's been quietly a really good player. In my mind, he's just a step above where Anderson is. But hey, they're going to be feeding off each other if they're going to be staying on the same defensive pairing. And as far as Valimaki goes, you're right. He hasn't shown us. He hasn't been flashy, which isn't a bad thing, because we haven't really seen very many mistakes in the first 3 games, and which is a good thing as far as defensemen go. I know he has a bit more to give offensively, and potentially he could, grow into that type of player. But you know what? If he keeps on growing his confidence with Goodbranson as well as Goodbranson has been playing, as far as I'm concerned, then he might be quietly a top 4 defenseman by the end of the year, because he is growing with that confidence. Goodbranson is giving him the opportunity to maybe not shine as a as a highly touted defenseman within this league, or young defenseman within this league. But then it's just one of those things where you just hope that he can build off of what he's doing right now, because he had a tough year last year, and if he keeps on going on this route, I think that it'll be beneficial for his development. He's only a year younger than Shillington. Shillington's 24, Valimaki is 23. These guys are still young defensemen. Defensemen take a bit longer to develop into NHL caliber defensemen. So within the next few years, if both of them are a regular within this lineup, just like they are now, then I'm really not concerned within their development.
Is it a fair comparison to Olli Juolevi in some ways?
Olli Juolevi, he has more of an anvil on top of him, just because of who went after him as far as Tkachuk goes, and I believe there was a few more that were after him within that draft year. I'd say if you're going to compare Juolevi to somebody, it might be Timothy Liljegren out of Toronto. And they're both right-handed shot defensemen who are.
Juolevi is left.
Is he left? Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Either way, they're young defensemen who were drafted in the first round and who haven't really been able to pop within their respective organizations. And I really hope that Juolevi gets a shot. I forget where he went.
He went in the 2017 draft. He was number
was
He actually,
fifth.
funny enough, he was 16th, and the next pick was actually Timothy Liljegren. It was Brandstrom, Valimaki. It was actually 5 defensemen in a row. There was Cal Foote from the Kelowna Rockets. Eric Branson went to the Golden Knights. Valimaki, Timothy Liljegren, and then Juho Vakanainen went to Boston.
Fair. Yeah, so Liljegren was in that draft with Valimaki. So that might be a better comparison overall to really where Juolevi is in comparison, because Juolevi went a year after, right?
No, Juolevi went the year before.
Sorry, year before that. Yeah. But what organization is Juolevi in now? Because I know he got traded.
Florida.
So hopefully Florida can give him a bit of a shot down there. But it's more so getting reps in and getting being able to play and to try to advance your career. And if you don't have that, then have that opportunity, then it's really hard to do that. So, I mean, kind of doubling back to Shillington, the fact that he really hasn't played much or many games within the past 3 years, technically, that he's playing as well he is right now. God, it's a blessing to really see that if you're a Flames fan. But yeah, if you're going for your original question, yeah, Juolevi is more so on Liljegren's level than Valimaki in my mind.
Fair. That's fair. It's just I kind of like I compare. The reason I brought it up is because it's a guy with potential, sort of seeing it the same way. But yeah,
That's valid.
What have you? We'll get to forwards in a second, but I want to ask what have you? I mean, Markstrom was fantastic tonight, best player by far on the ice. But what have you thought of him in the other 2 games?
Average, above that, just a bit above average in consideration to how many shots he got, the quality chances. I mean, he did make some decent saves in the first 2 games, and some may argue some game-saving saves. Maybe that's not the right word considering they didn't win, but it wasn't really that bad. But at the same time, I feel like he could have been a lot better. But then again, the team in front of them could have been a lot better too in scoring, considering how many shots they had in scoring chances and high danger scoring chances they had in both those first games. So, as far as his game goes, yeah, he could have been better, but he played very well tonight, and I'm happy to see that he was able to get a shutout there, and the team in front of him actually was able to push back a little bit. I was a little nervous at the beginning of the game when the Red Wings were able to just dominate, and the turning point. They did touch on this in the first intermission, but I had it written down was when Lucic fought Smith, and that was a massive turning point within the psyche. And I believe right after that, 15 minutes left in the first, they absolutely dominated. So it's one of those things where momentum really does matter, and they need to make sure that they pick their moments. I know your original question was on Markstrom, but I just want to go on Lucic a little bit here. The fact that he fought Delorier in the Anaheim game, I felt was very. It wasn't necessary considering the Flames were up, and I feel like that was the turning point in that game because the Anaheim Ducks really had momentum after that, and that's when the momentum shifted into their favor, and they were able to tie it up. So as far as Lucic goes, he needs to make sure that he is picking his spots properly, but tonight he really did. And I think that really helped Markstrom solidify his win in the shutout.
Yeah. I will grant and agree that the tying goal against Anaheim and the Puljujarvi goal were really bad, like a bad line change. And Puljujarvi walked by the phone booth that was Zadorov and chattered it. But I was like, look, what are we paying this guy? $6 million. I just thought in my head, I hate to do this, but I was like, what would Mika Kiprusoff do? Kiprusoff would have made those saves. And I'm not trying to say that he needs to be Kiprusoff, but we're paying him $6 million to make huge saves. But then I thought about it more tonight. Hear me out.
Okay, good. Yes. Explain yourself, please.
I think Kevin Woodley is right and I think what Woodley says makes sense. I think Markstrom plays better with more shots. I think when he gets into that rhythm early in the game, he gets a few shots under his belt. I feel like he gets into the game.
Those type of goalies, he's very similar to Mike Smith, in the sense that he does need more shots to be a better goalie, to get in the rhythm of the game. So hey, you're not wrong with that take. I understand the feeling that you really want to be better as far as Markstrom goes, but at the same time, it's 3 games. So we just need to temper expectations. I love the fact that we're so passionate right now, but it is at that point one of those times where okay, well what the hell are you doing? But the bigger sample size is whether or not A, he stays healthy, and B, he's willing and ready to step up when the games matter. And tonight he did a great job in getting that shutout. I'm happy to see that the team is doing that and trending in the right direction, because the first 2 games I feel like they should have had a better outcome than they than actually happened. And tonight was a bit different. I wrote it down here. So the first after 2 periods, they showed this on at the intermission, or just before the second intermission. First game after 2, they had 33 shots in net. Second game after 2, they had 30 shots in net, and I believe it was 13 at the end of this second period that that's how many shots they had. So it's they pushed back in the third period, and they were able to kind of even up with the shots and scoring chances. So I'm not. It will even out eventually. They just got to keep on sticking with the process. And I'm actually very pleasantly surprised with how they are playing under Daryl Sutter, because I did not expect them to have this many, the shot total to be as high as it is right now within 3 games.
So yeah, Kevin, you need to calm down.
Oh, look who's joined us. Look at
Man, I was
Weird.
sitting there waiting to make that comment, and then Devin just kept going and going and going and going.
I think he saw you in and is like, screw it, I'm not stopping.
Absolutely, I'm not stopping. Fuck that.
He's a home
God.
Smith. Of course, that's what he's going to do.
Who the hell did do you think that I learned it from? Honestly, my older brother, of course. But you know what? But before these yahoos start talking about fucking Canucks here, I do want to say that having Dylan Dubé on that second line, second line center it's unique as far as I'm concerned. I know that he has played a center back in junior, but I'm really impressed with the way that he has been able to step up to the challenge. And there's a few times where he took control of the play coming into the offensive zone. On that line, I would like to see, instead of Brett Ritchie, oh my God, I almost said Nick, Brett Ritchie. For Chris and Sean, I've already said Brandon Tanev instead of Chris Tanev, so I'm already 0 for 1 on that.
They also
why
said
am I
only
not
Olevi shot
surprised?
right.
Yeah, let's tally this up, please. Let's go. But I would like to see Blake Coleman on that second unit. I think since we are paying him 5.2, I would love to see him up there with that lineup. And yeah, you want to have tandems, but I feel like a good tandem as far as pairings go would be Pitlick and Baxter. Oh my God, Backlund. Thank you. Oh God, yeah. So Backlund and Pitlick on that third line to be a good shutdown role, and then you have put Ritchie on there too. I know that he's not really defensively sound, but having I think Coleman on that second line with Mangiapane and Dubé would be a nice little gritty, sneakily gritty second line with a lot of skill. It would be ideal. That's the only thing I really would change within that. So, but I'm curious, Kev, what do you think about Dubé on that second?
I really think that there's something there with Dubé at center. I want to see a little bit more of that. Mangiapane is making strides, I think, for sure. Probably, it's hard to argue that he's been at least, if he's not been the first, he's been the second behind Lindholm in terms of forward play this year. I feel with Coleman, you can put him anywhere. Honestly, I can see him with Lindholm and Kachuk if needed. I can see him with Backlund. I can see him with Dubé. I just think this is a guy. I'm going to troll Graham and just say he's better than Hyman. But this is a guy that you can put everywhere. And it's not that I don't like Hyman, because I do like Hyman. But it's a guy that you can put anywhere depending on the situation. That's what I really like about that. What I'm liking so far is Coleman, like his attention to detail, what he can do. I think you can put him pretty much anywhere. I love Brett Ritchie's effort, but I'm old enough to say that he reminds me of Jim Poplinski. The guy just shoots the puck and hopes like hell it goes into the net. Like, it's not only because they both wore 24, but they're just so similar. I'm like, every time I see Brett Ritchie, I'm like, this is Jim Poplinski. This is totally Jim Poplinski.
I feel like that's an insult to Jim Poplinski.
No, they're both like same, probably similar size, similar kind of style of player. I don't think it's an insult. Brett Ritchie either needs more puck luck or different hands, but he's making an effort for sure.
The only reason I feel like he's up there is for the sake of Sean's argument of having a right shot on that right wing for your second unit. And it's more so, okay, you can have that, or you can have some skill up there. And Blake Coleman has shown that he's been able to play with the top end players. And God, I'm talking too much about Sean right now, but he said also in the offseason that he's very similar to Zach Hyman, which I agree with. He's able to match that skill and match that work ethic, be able to go in the corners and dig pucks out and distribute the puck properly, especially with having a Dubé and Mangiapane as his line mates. And yeah, he could definitely be on that top line for sure, but I feel like that top line has been playing so damn well lately. As far as this first 3 games go, and especially go looking into last year, they were on that line for, I think, 7 to 10 games at the end of the year, and they looked really damn good. So splitting up that top line, I feel like, would be detrimental for the lineup in general, unless you want to really spread out the wealth, if you will. But talk about spreading out the wealth, having Sean Monahan on that bottom line there on the fourth line with Lewis and Lucic. God, that's got to be a kick in the pants for him. Former 20-plus goal scorer like 3 years ago. I feel for him, but that's got to be sending a message here to him to make him better and to make him show Daryl Sutter exactly what he can do. But he's not really given much of an option here going forward, which is kind of interesting. And Kev, you had a really interesting take before we jumped on here.
Well, I guess you have Brad Richardson was activated. Glenn Gaudin was placed on waivers. I think Glenn Gaudin had a really good camp.
Agreed.
That he's probably for sure the first call up for the team. I just wonder, we talked all off season about the Flames making that move. They made moves, but they didn't make that move. And I wonder how long Sean Monahan has here.
I love the take, and I love the intrigue within that, and trying to see exactly what is going on within that situation and with him in this organization. My only thought is that, okay, we're selling fucking low on him if that's going to be the case, because we know that he can score 20 plus, even 25 to 30 plus goals a year, depending on who he's with. Having him with Gaudreau distributing the puck and giving the puck in the slot, he's able to score there. We know this. Whether or not he is good after his wrist surgery and his hip surgery, that's the biggest question. He's not been able to do that. So, okay, well, that might be the case. My question is, if that is the case, who the hell are we getting back? Because we know that Sean Monahan has been a shadow of himself for the past 2 years.
Well, I mean, it depends where teams are at. I think there's a team that the gentleman wearing the bluish jerseys there played tonight that I think they are pressing. They were pressing a panic button. Now there's probably another panic button going off right now as we speak, and there's definitely needs to be a change of some kind coming in Chicago for sure.
Dylan Strome for Sean Monahan.
Stop. Montreal, another loss tonight, and
What?
I'm just going through names.
You bring it up, and I'm bringing up a guy who's been on the block.
Ryan Strome's been on the block too. Just saying.
Who?
Ryan Strome.
Oh, Ryan Strome.
Yep.
I was going to toss the name Tarasenko, maybe. There are a couple of very similar situations, recovering from injuries. One guy wanted out. I mean, I wouldn't. I still don't know if I would touch him, but I don't know. I just still think that shoe's on the other foot. And that's all I'm saying. And maybe for Monahan, this is exactly what he needs in terms of playing. Maybe he needs to be here for a little bit. Maybe he needs to be playing with Lewis and Lucic and just, not have as much of it. I mean, they're still playing him on the power play. He got, a minute 11 of power play time, 26 seconds of shorthanded. He'd be 14:57. They're still playing him in all situations. He's just maybe. And the other thing that I'm wondering, though, is I wonder if Daryl, this isn't necessarily a punishment, but getting Monahan rounded into form is putting him in a situation where sort of a load management situation where you're playing him in specific situations, not throwing him on the ice as a second line center.
There's a lot of trade options there. As far as Tarasenko goes, it'd be, in my mind, Monahan and maybe a third, a potential second, because we don't know exactly where Tarasenko's at. Yes, he scored last night.
He looked good though too. He looked really good.
Yep. And that could be an option for sure. And if that's the case, if it was a 1-for-1, I'd pull that trigger right away. If I was Brad Treliving, pull that trigger right now, because if you had him with Dubé and Mangiapane, or even push down Johnny to that second line, or whatever, you have a great. You'd solidify your top six right there instantly. You really would. Montreal's interesting, even though Bergevin came out and said that he's not willing to shake up the lineup as of yesterday. But you got to think that he is looking at potential options here. That I think that's all putting on a face for the media and the fans overall, especially the way that they played tonight. God, that was terrible. But I think that there will be a panic button, and I think Treliving, with being as patient as he has been with Monahan, there's going to be a team looking for scorers and who might be willing to take a chance and potentially overpay for Sean Monahan. And Brad Treliving just waiting for that for that one GM to be in a panic mode. And I mean, if we're really looking at as a panic mode organization, it'd be Montreal in my mind.
You wonder. Christian Dvorak hasn't exactly lit in the lamp yet. I mean, and then Kotkaniemi scores a goal.
Beautiful tip, by the way. If you haven't seen it, go check it out.
Yeah, it was a really nice tip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a tip.
Just a tip. But yeah,
are we playing that game, Sean?
Yeah. So
alcohol's involved.
So yeah.
Well lubricated. I love it.
So that will be interesting. It will be interesting. I mean, the three teams that I thought had pressure to get off to a good start were the Flyers, the Leafs, and the Flames. And the Flyers are off to a good start so far. They're playing really well. The Leafs, maybe we'll save that for another podcast, Devin. The Flames 1-1-1.
That's fair.
Yeah, and they are back. They've got 3. They actually have 4 and 6 here coming up. They got the Capitals on Saturday, the Rangers Monday, the Devils, Jack Hughes-less Devils on Tuesday, and the Sidney Crosby event, Malkin-less Penguins on Thursday. So,
yeah, they got to capitalize on those. It's funny. Rhett Warner was saying that this was a must-win third game into the season, and I'm sure that was tongue in cheek. But coming out with a shutout win is massive for the Flames. And before we move on, I know that we're slowly transitioning to the Canucks here, but God.
I'll spend a couple quick minutes talking about the Red Wings too, by the way. But
yes, absolutely. And for the love of God, Lucas Raymond, he is going to be a fucking stud in this league. Holy shit! The first goal that he scored in the NHL was absolutely ridiculous. If you haven't seen it, you need to go watch it. That was a fucking rocket. The fact that he was able to early in this game strip Rasmus Anderson, and Anderson kind of reacted like he was hitting the hands. It's one of those things where it's okay. Hey, play until the whistle's blown, because if you're reacting like that, then you really need to give your head a shake, because there was a massive chance that a young stud with Lucas Raymond coming in on Markstrom all alone was definitely a possibility within that chance. And he had at least two chances within the first 5 minutes. And God, he's going to be. It's one of those things where if you get a chance to watch him live, you need to pay attention to him. 23 on the Red Wings, he's phenomenal. Along with Mortiz Sider, he's talk about a defensive stud. Holy fuck, that guy is going to be a wrecking ball within this NHL this year. Period. And stop. And the way that Steve Yzerman is really coming about this kind of transition of the heyday 20 plus years in the playoffs of the Detroit Red Wings. It's going to be a crazy transition, but he's setting himself up to have a massive franchise dynasty. And Philip Zadina, you talk about an underrated player that is also a young up and coming player. Like it's going to be crazy. So anytime you guys are watching the Detroit Red Wings, watch Tyler Bertuzzi as another person you need to fucking watch, because that guy is right in his prime. It's just too bad he's on a team that is just on the precipice of like pushing up. And Dylan Larkin as well. I'm very impressed with what they've done recently and where they're going, because the young players are fucking good.
Dylan Larkin is criminally underrated in this league, like massively underrated. That the guy is one of the fastest skaters in the league. If he was on a very good team, he would be talked about in Selke comparison. He's I've always been impressed with Dylan Larkin for sure. The Red Wings are coming. It won't be this year. But I think that's the thing with when you're playing the Sabres and Red Wings this year, and probably even Arizona. Well, not so much, but the Sabres and Red Wings, they're in the don't give a shit meter. Like, we know we're not going anywhere, but we're just going to have, there's no pressure on us. We're just going to come out and play hockey. And if you're taking them lightly, you're going to lose.
And as upper management's like, okay, hold on. Like, let's push this back at least like a year or two so that we can get a low draft pick to get one of these young studs coming up in these next two drafts. Like, let's hold on here just for a second. But I mean, we all know that. I mean, they could prove us wrong, but they might regress to the mean here and come back down to earth a little bit. And I mean, we saw it with Buffalo 2 years ago, or maybe even 3 years ago, where they went to 10-0 off the start, and then they shit the bed after that. So it's one of those things where you get excited because it's a brand new year, but you know, analytically speaking, they should regress back down.
Yeah, I don't foresee them. They're not a playoff team. That's not what I'm saying. But you cannot. It is not a night off. It is not a luxury tour trip to do some gambling in Detroit. And it's not a trip to Niagara Falls when you see Buffalo. You're going to have to work to get it.
As one of our favorite analysts, Eric Francis, says, it's a free spot on the bingo card. That's not the case. Ottawa was that last year supposedly, and they gave every single team in the North Division fits, whether or not that was at the beginning or the end of the year. So yeah, you definitely have to make sure that you're not sleeping or going out playing guilty. as the players call it, within that game. So you definitely have to watch out for those young bucks down there in Detroit and Buffalo.
I just want to thank Detroit for drafting Philip Zadina, because if they didn't draft Philip Zadina, Canucks wouldn't have this guy, Quinn Hughes.
Oh, the lesser of the Hughes. Yeah, that's fine.
The healthy of the Hughes.
You see that hit? You think Quinn Hughes would survive that? I don't think so. Yeah. Liaison laid it down on the Hughes, and which is really actually all kidding aside, really too bad considering how we started the year, because that overtime winning goal was fucking gold. It was absolutely amazing, filthy as fuck.
Yeah, just another guy criminally underrated. I got to tell you, I've been particularly paying attention to the Kraken. I watched some of that Devils Kraken game a couple nights ago. Nico Hischier is coming along, like he is. Yeah.
Yep.
What are you pointing me for?
I'm saying I agree with you, but I couldn't get it right. It's a mirrored image that I'm looking at, so it's hard for me to point at you.
Fair. All right. Lucas is here. He says slump busters. That's what the Chicago Blackhawks. Great hockey tonight in Van City. Get your jerseys from Van City. We also have a contest. Maybe let's just touch on the contest that we have going on. Always a good reminder to talk about the contest when we have a contest for our Calgary viewers and listeners. We are working on something for Vancouver, by the way, but we're Calgary. Sean.
All right. So yeah, if you know Calgary, you know one of the best pubs in town, the Pig and Duke. They've got their Pig and Puck Club, and normally you would go to the pub, grab a couple pints, and enter to win tickets, which would a ticket to a game, which would include beverages and food at the Pig and Duke, then a limo to the game, ticket to the game, limo back to the Pig and Duke on 12th, and then you get to enjoy all of that, along with this year you get to go with Chris, you get to go with Devin, you get to go with myself to the April 23rd game when Vancouver's in town to face the Flames. So the other thing is with that is we have 2 tickets to give away. And to get those tickets, we will on our weekly episode, we will give you a word of the week. You have to DM that to @podcast_hockey on Twitter to get 3 entries. And then you can still enter by retweeting any of our episodes, any of our pod clips. And we will give you 1 entry towards that, and we will be picking these winners. We haven't quite decided when, but I want to do this a little bit early because yes, it's in Calgary. But if you can find a way to get your butt to Calgary and join us for that game, even if you don't live in Calgary, I want that open to anyone who can get their butt to Calgary. So, as I said, word of the week during our weekly podcast, which is now on Mondays. You DM that to podcast_hockey on Twitter to get 3 entries, and you can retweet any of our episodes, any of our pod clips to get 1 entry. And we will pick 2 winners to get to get a ticket each to go to the April 23rd game when Vancouver's in Calgary to face the Flames.
And watch it with us 3 assholes.
and you get your keister to Calgary, okay?
If you're outside of Calgary,
no keister.
Keister.
Yeah, no, not your ass. Sean's old. Get your butt to Calgary.
Yes. So, and with just a reminder, we are moving our podcast from our weekly Sunday to Monday because I am calling play-by-play games for the Greater Vancouver Canadians. So Sundays are kind of out for me. So we've moved Monday 6:30 Pacific, 7:30 Mountain. So this Monday we will be basically after the Rangers and the Flames play. We're going to have Adam Kurzenblatt on as a guest. We will be talking about the Seattle Kraken, as they are the Canucks' next opponent and the Kraken's home opener as against the Vancouver Canucks. And we'll see where they're at. We'll see what Adam is thinking. So watch out for that for next Monday as well. But let's get to the Canucks now. They recovered. I don't know where Canucks Twitter is at. I haven't followed, but I know that listening to Canuck Clay's Space, which, by the way, Sean, welcome to 2021, discovering what space is on Twitter.
You say someone's on space. I'm like, in space? On space? I don't know.
Are we in the internet? Are we on the internet? Who knows?
Who knows? Anyway, I had to anyway, but everyone from listening to that intermission, no one was even though they were up 3-1 at that point, no one was super happy. But the Canucks came away with a 4-1 victory. Sean, Chris, we'll start with Chris here. Just kind of get your impressions. How are things going? What happened? Is everything okay?
Like, it wasn't a overall dominant game by the Canucks, but it was definitely they definitely showed up as compared to last game. Like, everyone was acting as if the sky was falling after last game. Understandably so. Like, Canucks Twitter, and they'll freak out over the littlest thing. That being said, it's only a couple games into the season. Right now we're 2-2, I believe. And going into that game against Seattle on Saturday, I'm fairly comfortable with that. Like, I wasn't expecting us to blow it out of the water starting off the season. I also wasn't expecting us to suck either. So the fact that we're kind of around that 500 mark, kind of to be expected with the first couple of games, to start the season. So I'm overall happy with the effort tonight. And yeah, they were able to expose the defensive weaknesses of Chicago fairly well.
I'll disagree with Chris. It's not understandable that Canucks Twitter's went absolutely ridiculous after the Buffalo game. It was one game. They played like absolute crap, but it's one game. They came back and they found a way to win. They're 2-2-1 now. If they can find a way to at least get a point out of Seattle, if not win, then this road trip's a success. So, but the only thing right now is they're finding ways to win without having Pettersson dominate games. They're finding ways to win without having Brock Besser dominate games. So I'm okay with that. And I think we need to find a way to take a step back, breathe, and understand it's an 82 game season. And we need to, as Canucks fans, stop trying to make things bigger than they are. Stop trying to make one bad game the hill you're going to die on in terms of why Travis Green needs to be fired, why Jim Benning needs to be fired. I understand the frustration from 8 years of Jim Benning and only 2 playoff appearances and one quote unquote playoff win. But this is a new season. We've got a pretty significant turnover, and this team starting 6 games on the road, which is the longest road trip to start the season they've had in a long time. So I think it's where the Canucks are at. They're not where they need to be. They're not where they should be. But I see the positives right now. I see that Tucker Poolman's has outplayed the expectations. OEL has outplayed the expectations. Connor Garland's come as advertised. Like, he is an absolute. He's a what is he, a midget, and he's an angry little elf. he's our pest. Like, and I love it. Hoaglander's played well. Dickinson's been solid.
Cocky.
I think they're finding ways to win. And other than the Buffalo game, this team has played with an edge, has played with a little bit of urgency, and played with a little bit of snarl. And they just didn't have it in Buffalo for whatever reason. And that's the players need to figure that out and figure out how to not let that happen, because that should have been a game they should have won. That should have been a game that should have been a 2 points that you don't have to worry could come back and haunt you later on in the season. But they need to figure that out and make sure that doesn't happen. But it's a long season, and for early returns, I'm not upset. I think I figured if the Canucks could go around 500, ideally above 500 on this road trip, I'd be happy. So if they can find a way to win on Saturday and spoil the stupid Kraken's home opener, then this road trip's a success.
That's way too rational for Canucks. Honest to God, that's way too rational, especially for you, Sean. We all know Jim Benning needs to be fired. We know this. That's a necessity for success within the Canucks organization. So the fact that you're as this rational this early on in the season, I applaud you. I really do. But like in all honesty, it's Sean's right. We as far as Canucks needs to go, just relax, take a breath, look at the positives, and if you're trending, if the process is there, then you should be just fine, because the process will outweigh the irregulars within a game easily enough, and that includes the refs, right, Sean?
I know the rest don't get any benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, they need to be here all the time.
Yeah, fuck you, Tyler.
So I just want to rebut one of the things that Sean said, though. I will admit that, I just meant that it's not surprising in the sense that Canucks Twitter is if anything, is predictable. So the fact that the sky was falling, yeah, that's to be expected because it's Canucks Twitter. And in respect to Garland, I truly think he's probably the closest thing we've had to a Kessler replacement since he left. It's that pest that everyone loves to hate, kind of like how Calgary has kind of coalesced around Matt Tkachuk in his first couple seasons with the Flames. I see a lot of parallels in that way.
I just feel like hockey Twitter is generally becoming, no matter what fan base it is, it's hard to come away feeling like making positive remarks. The only fan base right now that is going with any positivity is the Edmonton Oilers. Everybody, even the Kraken, are even the Kraken after 6-1 loss demanded Dave Haskell be fired. So I mean, it's just I just feel like that's where hockey Twitter is at this particular point. So I don't know, maybe you make more of a wave if you're negative, but a couple of things here. I think people are gonna throw egg at my face, but I think Benning, I'm gonna defend Benning a little bit. I already defended Eric Branson, so my credibility right now at this point as hockey observer is probably in the shitter anyway.
Two apples tonight for Eric Branson.
Yeah. I gave a shout out, Sean. I gave a shout out to Graham. I was like, why did you play Connor McDavid when you could have had Eric Branson's 2 assists? But you look like the Jason Dickinson trade. I mean, he hasn't been awesome, but he's not. He scored a goal tonight. As much as everybody railed on the Adam Gaudette trade for Matthew Highmore, who played tonight and who was the healthy scratch?
Fair point.
And you talk about Connor Garland and OEL. I don't, I mean, yes, he's made some disastrous mistakes. There's no question about it. But I think the last little bit, he's been pretty solid, and I think he deserves a little bit of credit for the last little bit. I mean, I'm not saying he's the best GM ever, but he's done some things that put the Canucks, I think, in a good direction. There's still work to do, no question about it.
From the cynical point of view, he's maybe making up for some of his other mistakes, aka Beagle and Roussel and Eriksson and all those other contracts. But that being said, exactly. This past offseason, he did his best to make up for those mistakes and try and clear out all that dead cap. And yeah, so far it's looking like it's going to pay off fairly well.
Yeah, there's a lot. You could go down the rabbit hole of what moves Jim Benning has made and that haven't turned out. But the short returns, and it's real early in terms of what he's did this offseason. They look pretty good. So it's I'm still in the early season honeymoon phase of, even though they had one absolutely horrendous game, I still like, for the most part, what I've seen from the Canucks. And they're doing it without Petey stepping up and being the dominant player that we know he can be and he should be. And Quinn Hughes has been quietly very, very good. He hasn't blown the doors off in terms of just like always being front and center, but he's been one-man breakout. He's been able to create some offense. He's the fastest active defenseman to 100 points. That's better than Cale Makar. Let's remember that. And I look at this team, I know that they're not close. They're not playing at the top end, the top that they can with the depth they have up front. And if they can if Jack Rathbone can step up and be a good third pair defenseman for the Canucks, if Kyle Burrows can continue to be a good third pair defenseman for the Canucks, that's going to be huge. And if those two can combine, as Van City says, to be a good third pair, if they can be a reliable third pair for the Canucks, that's going to go a long way, especially with the uncertainty of the Travis Hominick situation, and with and then allows you to have Quinn Hughes and Tucker Poolman as a pair, and you can have the super expensive pair of OEL and Tyler Myers.
And hell, even if you want to take the pessimistic point of view on OEL, if you want to compare him to when we first signed Eriksson, he didn't do an own goal in his first game there. He's been sound defensively. Like, overall, I'd say OEL has proved that, at least starting off in this trade marriage, if you will, it's worked out fairly well for the Canucks.
Now, I'm curious on what you guys' thoughts are on the fact that the contract dispute went so far into training camp, which is, I mean, we can only assume that Hughes and Pettersson, with the way that they are playing, isn't really up to par in consideration of what we know they can do. So do you guys think that was the detriment to their start this year? Was the contract?
Yeah, I think it was. I think you in today's day and age, you have to. It's not. Training camp is not to get into shape, but it's to get into game shape. And preseason is to get into game shape. And if you aren't there full time, you're going to be a step behind. So I think we remember a couple of years ago, we saw that with Brock Besser. Took him a little bit to get going. And again, this year, like, you got Brock Besser missed a significant amount of preseason with an injury. You had Hughes and Petey only playing a couple preseason games because of the contract disputes. I think Hughes has been the best of the bunch, and Besser close behind. Petey's not been there yet, and I think he needs to figure out how to get back up to speed and become the player that we all know he can be. And when he does, and you add that to the way Connor Garland is playing, with the intensity that JT Miller is playing, and then even OEL, who, for everyone who's been yelling and screaming about his analytics, he's the best through 5 games now. He leads the Canucks in the shot attempt percentage. It's him and Höglander. And if you can get Petey going and get him at least to a point per game type pace, if not better, this team has the potential to be really fun to watch and could be better than a lot of the prognostications have said. And especially in the Pacific Division, that's wide open. Vegas is out without one of their top players for weeks. We don't know how long Mark Stone's out. We don't know how, and Pacioretty's out for weeks. The Oilers have come out in gangbusters, but they just lost Mike Smith, and now they're going to have to rely on Mikko Koskinen. We all know what happened a couple years ago when they had to do that. Can he stand up to it? That's a big question. So then you throw then you got the Flames and Kraken as the 2 other teams, and that I would say would be up in that mix. And I think that if the Canucks can get Petey going and continue to play this pesky hard-nosed style that they have for 4 out of 5 games, who knows what could happen? Yes, Kevin.
Don't sleep on the San Jose Sharks. This is a team.
Who's stopping pucks for them?
This is a team that got Evander Kane is not there. Whether or not he comes back or not, we will discuss that another time. But this is a team that is playing with a breath of fresh air. And in this division is wide open. Dylan comes in, ducks for the cup. I got to tell you, there's a lot that I really like about that Ducks team too in the future. That Jamie Drysdale is going to be a damn good player. And then Trevor Zegras and Mason McTavish as your 1-2. Oh my gosh. Anyway, but I think the Sharks are still, that's one team I think everybody's been sleeping on a little bit. And I'm worried. I wonder about the Sharks. Anyway, but your point being that this is a wide open division, and the Oilers are still, I'm sorry, that is still a traffic disaster of a 6-pair defense there, even with Mike Smith there or not. They're going to try to win 6-4 all these games because that's what they're going to have to do. But it's wide open. I agree with you, Sean. That's my point.
Surprisingly enough, if you haven't been looking at the standings, San Jose Sharks are 3-0, unlike the Anaheim Ducks. They're Dylan, we want to shit on them a lot, but listen, hey, Troy Terry is a piece of shit, and no one likes him. All right. But in all honesty, Dylan, I'm eating my words here. I was beaking him hard for not saying, or from when Sean and I were at the game, not together. Sean was with Dylan Johnson. I was with my fiance Kaylin, and I was beaking Sean.
Is that who you said hi to earlier in the podcast?
No, that's a different
Kaylin.
It's a different Kaylin who's in Ontario. That's right.
Oh,
no, but I was speaking Dylan about Troy Terry and how he was invisible in that game, and then he goes and gets an assist on the game-winning goal. But anyways, as far as San Jose goes, I think Kevin's onto something. I mean, who's stopping the pucks is Aiden Hill. Aiden Hill is stopping the pucks, and obviously he's shown within 3 games that he's able to do that. But to Sean's point, the Pacific Division is completely wide open.
Yeah.
Outside of Edmonton, and like every team has its faults. Every single team has its faults, and I want to say, as far as like my crazy mind goes, is that there will be a team in the playoffs that we did not expect to be in the playoffs. 100%. I feel like that is what's going to happen, and I mean that's an absolute. So 99%. I believe that's what's going to happen. So you never know what's gonna come down the pipe here, especially with injuries, with COVID. There's so much happening. Wheeler's out, Scheifele's out. In Winnipeg, we had the number one center. Is this 5-10 years ago of Jeff Carter being a number one center? He's out with COVID too, or with COVID protocol. So you never know what's going to happen within this year. So as far as the Canucks go, yeah, you know what? Hey, take and run with it what you can. And if you have Hoglander and OEL being the number one shot attempts, hey, fucking take it and run with it. The negativity is around the NHL 100%. So let's be happy. Is that a concept that we're familiar with? Being happy. With,
you know what? I'll jump off that point. You know what? I'm gonna make a prediction. I'm gonna say PD gets a goal and has a multi-point game against Seattle on Saturday.
Can we clip that, Kevin? Cut it out.
Hey, it could be a hot take. I could be horribly wrong, but you know what? I'm going to be optimistic.
It's weird, optimistic on a podcast, let alone Twitter. That's amazing, Chris.
I like how he throws a concept out, and he's the one shitting on my take.
I did not. Man. Hey, but okay, hold on. How does everyone like Justin Dowling? Talk to me.
I was so angry at him when he missed that breakaway, and he made that nice deflection.
But overall, performance-wise, as a fourth-line center, yeah, I'm happy with him. He's stepped in where he's needed to be as a Sutter replacement, if you will, and yeah, he's been serviceable.
No, he's been played all around not only just as a fourth line center, or he's been on the third line. Like he was when they tried to go PD Horvat Miller down the middle. It was Podkolzin, Miller, and Dowling. That was the line, and they didn't look bad. I think they need to take a look. They need to take a look at that again once they can get going. And hopefully get PD some confidence, but no, I've liked what Dowling has brought to the Canucks in a sort of 9th, 10th, 11th forward role.
Yeah, he's been solid. I can't complain. I think the issue I think more with the Canucks right now is special teams. I think both ends probably need some work, both penalty kill and power play. And I think just getting people back. I mean, Brock Besser was hurt, just getting back in, getting Pettersson back into a groove, determining where I think another thing is, where is JT Miller going to play? Is he on the Lotto line? Is he a centerman? And I think maybe solidifying those lines a little bit more, I think may help as the season goes on. Because, I mean, I know that Green likes the blender, but I wonder with Miller if there's a bit of sense of frustration that we don't know if he's a center or a wing. I got to tell you, from my perspective, I like Miller as a winger better than center, and I'm probably in the minority on that. I just think you like that strength along the boards, and I just feel Dickinson's stronger as a center. I would go Pettersson, Horvat, Dickinson. But I think that getting those lines straightened out, I think, is the big thing for the Canucks. But they have time. That's time and development, right?
I'm going to jump in here, and I agree with you, Kev, is that Miller needs to be a winger. I think that, he's a strong center, but overall he's a better winger. And I mean, looking back to the Flames, I feel like if you had Lindholm as a winger, man, you're going to be scoring a lot more goals. And I feel like that's very similar to Miller within the Canucks, because he has a hell of a shot. He's gritty. He's able to get dirty within those offensive zone corners. And I think that'd be better overall with the Canucks, especially with the depth of Dickinson being a third line center, and then you have Dowling as your fourth.
I think Miller is a better center. I think it's remains to be seen if the Canucks are better with him on wing than on center, though. I think did I say that right? I think he's a better winger than he is a center, but I think that the Canucks can be better with him at center than on wing if they can find that right chemistry with the top nine.
I think you had a little backwards at first, but it makes more sense the second time around.
Yeah. I was like, no, I said that wrong. But you can always, the way I look at it is, I think you should, once everyone's rolling, I think there's nothing wrong with starting with a top nine that has three centers that are Pettersson, Horvat, Miller. Because you can always mid game go back to the lotto line. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. And I think having that flexibility is one of the big strengths of the Canucks top nine going into this season.
So who would you play Pettersson with?
I still want to see them give a long look at Höglander, Pettersson, and Besser. I think Höglander can be that strong board guy, puck retrieval, and
Burroughs-esque.
Yeah, I think he can play that. I think he can play that role on that line just as in as effective as Miller can. I think he's proven that he can do that. If you can go that, then you throw Pearson, Horvat, Garland, and then you've got Miller, Podkolzin, and then insert player here, which was Dowling when they tried it. And then you have Dickinson with Highmore and Mott when he gets back. That is a fourth line that could match up against anyone and be a pest and be able to be defensively responsible. Like, I think if you look at that and the in theory, it could be really good. Now you need to test that theory, and you need to actually be able to give it some time to figure out if that actually works. We know the lotto line works. We know Miller on the wing works with Pettersson works because he can take face-offs which is one of Pettersson's big weaknesses, is not being able to win face-offs on a consistent basis. So I think as I said, I like Miller. If you take all that out, I like Miller on the wing better than I like him at center. But I still think that there's a good argument to say that the Canucks are better with Miller at center, with that stretching that depth of that lineup up front, with him in the middle.
I mean, I don't disagree. I don't have too much more to add to that. I very much agree in the sense that moving Miller down to the third line just gives that extra depth to that lineup. And yeah, maybe right now when we're semi-struggling is not the best timing for that. But like when the engine's humming and we're actually doing decently well, yeah, let's give that a shot and see how dominant we can potentially be.
See, and I think that's a good spot for him to be in when the Canucks make it to the playoffs. But having that depth in the playoffs is massive, and having those lineup combinations as far as but a top nine and a three centers that can dominate against another team, that's massive in the playoffs. But as of right now, I feel like having the high flying offense in the regular season is beneficial for an 82 game season, and then maybe even just like a 75 game stretch, and then near the end you switch it up a little bit just to get a rhythm for the playoffs, depending whether or not the Canucks are there.
I want to see. I think Besser ultimately is probably the better fit, but I'd like them to go try a Hoglander, Pettersson, Garland line at some point. I'd like to see Garland get a long look with Pettersson. I think probably you end up still going with Besser, Pettersson, Garland, Horvat, but I think that there could be an interesting little chemistry there as well. I don't mind Hoglander. I mean, and then you got Paul Colson, who you can put in anywhere. I think Travis Green has said we're gonna put him wherever, right? He's kind of the Swiss Army knife of the team. So yeah, I mean, there's still some experimentation overall to do there, but
I really, really like the Pearson Horvat Garland line. I think Pearson is so underrated by this fan base. I think there's too many fans that are stuck too far in looking at cap friendly and into what is how efficient the cap is. But Pearson and Horvat have a good chemistry, and Garland plays the same way that they do. I really like that line. That is a line that can be a pesky line that can grind in the playoffs. Garland may not be big, but he plays like he's 6'2", 220. And you throw him out there with Horvat and Pearson, and that is a line that can grind other teams down. I disagree with you, Kev, on that. I think you stick with Garland. You stick Garland on Horvat's right wing, and you give him two solid wingers for like consistent wingers, because that is something that he's never had. He's always been the guy.
But I'm not switching. It's Garland and Besser here. I'm not giving him a minor league player. I think that what I would counter with though is I think that there are times that there are other ways to create room other than punching someone in the face, and that's by dragging someone into the battle. And I think at times Garland can do that. That's why I like that opportunity to create that. And I may get in a little bit of trouble here in some ways, but I think Garland at times has shown to me to be a bit of a better all-around player than Besser, which proves your point. I think ultimately I would go with what you're saying, but I wouldn't mind seeing Pettersson and Garland together every once in a while. And they have done it. They've thrown him on the left with Pettersson and Besser with a sort of what do we call that? The 846 line or the 648 line? The non-lotto line? Lotto -1?
Listen, we're sorry, Chris, go for it.
Okay. The only thing I would say to rebut your initial line proposal there, Kev, is a PD Hoglander Garland line, I think would be very easy to push around on a physical level. Like, yes, Hoglander and Garland do not play their size, and they definitely play bigger than how they are, but I just don't see that line succeeding long-term just due to that barrier.
My counter to that is, like, we're not talking about a fucking Louis Eriksson, Jay Beagle. You know, realistically, we're talking about skilled players here.
Yeah.
Within this top 9, within this top 6. So whatever way, in my mind, whatever way you really shake it out, you have time to really experiment with this. Why the fuck not? You might find something you really like, and the fact that you have these options. You're talking to a fucking Calgary Flames fan who doesn't have many options here. Realistically, as far as the top 6 and top 9 go. So the fact that we're as a podcast having this this conversation / argument is a positive. So I want to see. I would love to see Travis Green go out and experiment with this, because yes, like to Sean's point, we know that having a Pearson, Hoglander, Horvat line is good. But what do we know about having Hoglander up with Pettersson? What do we know about just completely putting all of them into a blender? Because we know that halfway through the game, if he doesn't like what he's seeing, go back to the original.
That's fair. All I was trying to initially say, though, was I just think that one specific line proposal might not work out in the long term. I'm totally down for experimentation, though. Like, throw those lines into a blender. Let's have fun. Let's see what works.
The other thing that I think has to be thrown in here a little bit is at some point here, there has to be a conversation in improving that defense. Yes, it's fine right now, but if you're a playoff run, there is going to be an option for a rental piece or to get another defenseman. I still think that is a priority add. Even if Travis Hamonic was here, that still would be an add. And then that may cost you a significant piece. That's the other thing that you have to look at too. So that's all I'm saying. And
that addition's not going to cost the roster player though. That is going to be Jim Benning trading another draft pick. That's going to throw Canucks Twitter into another tizzy to add to that blue line. Which if they're as we talked about, if they're potentially battling for the division title, I wouldn't be too upset with it if they can find a way to capitalize on going a deep run and give more playoff experience to these younger players and start building this team towards what we want them to do. And I don't if they're going to try and make a big move to try and solidify that blue line, especially that right side, that's not something I see them making mid-season. That's something that happens in the offseason. Then that's something where Hoglander's taken another step. Podkolzin's been better than it has been very solid this season, and they have the depth to potentially move on from someone else to add to that blue line. That's an off-season move if you're going to take a big piece away from this forward group to solidify that blue line.
Give me more Benning chaos. Come on. As a Flames fan, I just love it. Just stoke that fire. Come on, Benning, do something fucking stupid so that everybody gets a chance to just rail him on Twitter. Because that realistically, we all know that if things don't go well, maybe even halfway through this year, he could be fucking gone potentially. We would talk. I mean, I've been expecting this for the past year and a half, but Aquilini's just love him being their puppet and being able to just, I'm not saying he's a bad GM, but I'm saying he's a bad GM.
I would say he's just as least on par as Tree, though.
I was about to
as
say.
far as quality in their tenure.
Are you fucking kidding me? Are we getting into this right now?
Look at the results.
The results are nothing. Look what fucking Benning has brought in comparison.
Then what are they graded on if not the results, Dev?
Oh my god. Okay, yeah. Let's bring in a potential 30-year-old fucking defenseman that's over his prime, and he could be pushing towards greatness here in OEL. But then you make a massive trade to bring in Dougie Hamilton, who was a good gamble at the time and who didn't mesh well within the organization and the dressing room, and then trade him away to get Elias Lindholm and Michael Furlan, Michael Furlan is Michael Furlan, but you still have a number 2 1B center within this organization. So don't tell me that he's on the same level as Brad True-Living. That's complete and utter
I love how
shit.
you've completely written off OEL already and haven't even talked about how it's Connor Garland's a big part of that trade and the fact that the Flames have done nothing in this
offseason? Okay. All right. What's Blake Coleman to you?
No, I'm talking about like the whole thing.
The 10 years.
If you look at results, they both won one playoff round as GMs.
Results are okay. Results are something. Yes, it's tangible, absolutely. But overall, what the fuck has Vancouver done in comparison to Calgary? It is pretty similar, but I'd say Calgary's been more successful overall than the Vancouver Canucks.
Since 2014, I'd say they're on par with each other. Hence my original statement.
I mean, the one thing that you do not have going in your favor, Devin, is the coaching situation, which has been
oh Jesus, that is complete and utter bullshit, man. You know it. Like that's it. Okay, Jeff Ward was an interim head coach. They did a bunch of interviews within Jeff Ward to before they hired Jeff Ward, and he was the best option. Okay, and then he had Bill Peters, who was a piece of shit, to be completely honest, and we all know this. I mean, as far as a head coach goes, as far as a coach in the NHL, okay, you know, his X's and O's probably match up evenly enough, but. God, man, like that's you can't. That's apples and oranges in comparison to what Jim Benning has done.
You have to admit that it is unusual that a GM gets 4 chances at a head coach.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, two of those are. I mean, I'd say 1.5 in comparison are pretty much asterisks, realistically.
Also, I just want to say, I wasn't saying Benning was a great GM.
Excuses? Excuses? You want to talk about excuses? Okay. How about Jay Beagle? Oh, great signing. Okay, how about Louis Eriksson? Oh, fantastic signing. That was great. Oh man, let's get a 2 bottom 6 players.
Why do I have popcorn? Why do I not have popcorn here at this
a shit ton?
Okay, you want to talk about that? You want to talk about that?
Okay, Troy Brouwer. Tell me, Troy Brouwer. All right.
Milan Lucic.
My God, that is a fantastic trade. Are you fucking kidding me, man? Where is James Neal? Where's James Neal?
Guess who signed James Neal?
St. Louis fucking Blues. Yeah, I understand.
No. Guess who signed James Neal?
Before that one.
Oh, okay. He's coming off a fucking great year in Vegas. Okay.
So was Louis Eriksson. He came up a great year in Boston. So you're basically saying that Brad, you can give all the excuses in the world, but you're going to absolutely shit. I'm not saying Jim Benning is a great
Treliving is above is Benning is what I'm trying to get at. The fact that you say that they're even is bullshit. I'd say that Treliving is above Benning 100%.
Kev, we need a tiebreaker.
Because he traded the pick that could have been Matt Barzal or Thomas Chabot for Travis Hamonic.
Because we were in fucking
adoption. That was correction. That was Noah Dobson. Dougie Hamilton was Matthew Barzal.
Okay, sorry. Noah Dobson.
Because we were in a playoff race looking for a solid top 4 defenseman. At that point, Travis Hamonic was a top 4 defenseman. And look where he is now.
I think that Brad Treliving has saved his job because of the way that he's able to articulate a vision where Jim Benning isn't. But I also think that Treliving is overrated. I've always said that. I think that the Lindholm Hanifin trade has worked out well. He's made. I think that this Daniel Vladar acquisition was a smart one, but he's had his trips. Like Nikita's, he's paying Eric. He paid $2 million to Eric Gabranson. Devin, I know that
you were just praising him. For bringing Eric Gabranson in, for fuck's sakes, there, Kev.
No, I said Gabranson. What I said was he is a 5'6" defenseman that I've been pleasantly surprised with, but he's being paid $2 million.
Under $2 million, just a shade under. I want to say, if we're being politically correct here.
I think that but like if you're just basing this on success, that Sean and Chris are right in the sense that that's where I agree. I think that they're in terms of success, it's hard to
success, yes, but like as far as like big names coming in here, taking
Big
swings
names coming in here and doing what?
Just would you just shut up and fucking listen to me? God damn it, Sean! Holy dude,
Man, that's hockey season.
Holy shit! No, just shut up.
Okay, everyone needs to hug after Devin speaks.
Christ, man, I let you speak. Let me speak. How many times do I have to tell this? God, you took a risk on Troy Brow being a solid locker room guy. Yes, he was overpaid. We all knew this coming in. You overpay everybody, whoever is. Hold on, Chris. You can put your hand down. I see you there. Troy Brower is a calculated risk because he was a part of a winning team. Okay. God damn it. Now I'm just spinning now. I'm pissed. I can't even think straight.
Devin, I want to give
Chris,
you a hug.
No, Sean, shut up. Chris, go.
They have peaks and valleys in different categories, but ultimately they average out as equally mediocre GMs. And Jim Benning is a bumbling Elmer Fudd.
That's what gets me. That's what fucking gets me every time is the fact that he's a goddamn idiot in front of the fucking mic. Brad Treliving, he was put out to the goddamn wolves when Bill Peters was a part of that organization.
Absolutely.
Fucking Gary Bettman, shake your fucking head. Shake your goddamn head and get out in front of a goddamn mic and talk about this as the fucking head of the NHL. Honest to God. Imagine Jim Benning being a part of that shit. Good Lord. The fire that would be a part of that would be fucking ridiculous. It'd be absolutely terrible. It'd be it would. I believe it would. No. Oh, my anger is getting to me.
Dev, as someone who started this firestorm,
it's not helping.
It's okay.
It's not helping.
Dylan brings up a good point. I'm going to change the subject here. I'm going to get this out of the ditch, back on the highway here. I brought something up because I was thinking about this. Josh Manson might be an interesting rental piece for defense. I'm not saying that that's a guy I would be looking at as a potential. I mean, you look at the Ducks. They do have some pieces that they can move to get younger and get more picks. So Josh Manson might be a guy that'd be interesting.
I gotta say that's a bit of a reach, but hey, I appreciate the thought process.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I'm sorry, Dev.
Well, no. Hey, we're talking about Jet Wu being a mid-round pick for Josh Manson, who is a legitimate NHL player. I'm sorry,
probably,
that's
probably have to give up more, but
absolutely would.
I would agree with Dylan that Josh Manson is an interesting piece to look at, but I do think you'd have to give up more than Jet Wu in a mid-round pick. By the way,
why is everybody so quiet?
Well, we're just waiting for you to completely blow your head.
Oh, Jesus. And that is why you're my brother, for the love of God.
Because when I was scratching for entertainment, I didn't think I was going to get this.
Oh, anytime that you compare Jim Benning to Brad Treliving, that's where I lose my fucking mind. Because Jim Benning is a fucking idiot. He's a goddamn idiot and a fucking puppet to the Aquilinis. That's my true opinion.
I already used my hot take card for the episode, too.
Oh, man.
Anyway, is there anything else within the Flames and Canucks that we need to talk about?
I think we're good.
Other than Jim Benning being equally bad as
God damn it.
Dev, I'm just no, I get it.
You're Connor Garland and Matthew Tkachuk in him. This is like the Sean Fred.
Don't reverse check your brother, Sean.
What I will say is, in terms of that argument, I do have Brad Treliving slightly better than Jim Benning because of what he's gone through.
That's my fucking point. God damn it, man.
Shut up and let me talk.
Let him finish.
But the difference between them is not that much, and I think that they're for a lot. I think it's the Brad Treliving's time as the Flames GM is coming to an end. If things don't change drastically, and I think he has been overrated by the fan base because of the couple of big moves that people were okay with, and the fact that he can actually put two words together and talk on camera without coming across as a bumbling idiot.
I think, though, to be fair to him, the one thing I will agree with Devin on is that storm he went through with Bill Peters, Jeff Ward, and all of that. I thought, I'm not going to give him a whole bunch of praise, but I think he was left a little bit on the island by the NHL. I will say that. And by the way, we still haven't got a result of that investigation yet. So that, to Trelivin's credit, being left on an island like that, I think he handled that muddy water pretty well. I'm not saying perfect, but yeah. But
just to counteract Sean's point, when I'm like, you're right, Sean. Like the moves that he made that were very pro within the fan base. It's up to the players to fucking do it. It's not him. He can only do the best that he can within what he's given, right? So it's up to up to the fucking players. Just shut up, man. I'm talking. Christ.
Okay, everybody.
Jesus Christ, man. Chris?
I mean, all I'm saying is, if you're saying if it's up to the players, then why is Jim Benning taking heat for Louis Eriksson and Antoine Roussel and Jay Beagle?
Because they're not good fucking players.
It's the same. It was literally the same. Louis Eriksson was coming off a very good season in Boston.
Oh God!
And you're willing to give Brad Treliving the benefit of the doubt on the James Neal signing, but you're not willing to give him on the Louis Eriksson signing. That's all I'm saying. Okay, and I think there are lots of mistakes, and I think it's the way I look at it is, I think Treliving has done more, has made a couple moves, has saved his job, has been very much, has been insanely better in front of the camera, in front of the mic than Jim Benning. But the fact is, the results are pretty even. And results matter. This is a results-based sport. Wins matter. Getting to the playoffs matter. Getting out of the first round matters.
Oh, trust me, being a Leaf fan, I fucking know. All right.
I mean, at least you made the joke on yourself, because I was about to say.
I mean, I could go even more and take another dig and say that Kyle Dubas is just another Jim Benning.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man.
I don't believe it. I just wanted to see what you would say.
Things down before things get out of hand.
Okay. We're going to quickly...
It's hockey season. Devin's ranting, and it's not me that's actually provoked it this time. This is weird.
James Neal.
It'll be flipped next episode. It'll be fine.
Louis Eriksson, 980 games, 595 points. James Neal has 100 plus less games than James Neal, 852 at 55 or 555 points. All right, like it's like if we're doing comparison here, I'm looking at the comparisons, but it's Man, God. All right, I'm done with this conversation. Christ.
Yeah, I'm trying to move on as well.
Well, Sean always has to have his last.
Okay, but I'm trying to move on as well. Man, so this is the ditch, eh? Okay. Anyway,
This is
let's-
what
Again,
happens
I'm
when we don't
sorry,
have
Devin.
Tyler on.
yeah, we need the actual ref here.
We need our highwayman who can actually keep us on the road.
Yeah. The only couple of other quick things I wanted to just let you know, if you are in Red Deer, or if you have a chance, the WHL Cup, Jerome McGinley's son Tej is playing for Team BC, by the way, is on until the 24th. It's something you can check out. It's 15 and under, but these are the guys that are going to be drafted in December by the WHL for the Bantam draft. So check that out. And I think we've touched on pretty much all of the other news that's going on. Winnipeg's COVID protocols. We could be talking about a Blackhawks firing a coach at some point this week. Canadians are
Potentially
in
a
trouble.
GM as well.
Well, that talk about someone who is not, the whole what's happening in Chicago is not being talked about. That whole investigation in Chicago is not being talked about enough. So if you are interested in that, follow Request Head. There are people paying attention to that, but that's not being talked about enough. I was going to repost that today and I didn't have a chance to, but follow. Yeah. But they're off to a terrible start. Montreal's off to a terrible start. Connor McDavid scoring goals, ridiculous goals again. I think. Did I miss anything?
Not that I can recall.
Sounds good to me.
Canucks play Seattle. Seattle's home opener on Saturday. That'll be fun. Hopefully the Canucks can spoil it for those stupid little calamaris.
Oh, good God. So we will be back for sure Monday, but we will be doing some more of these post-game recaps. We kind of got to figure out everything that's going on. We'll have Adam Kurzenblack from who's covering the Kraken on. Sean can rub it in, although Adam is actually a Canucks fan. He's just reporting on the Kraken. So
how true is that statement going to be then?
And then we've got.
It's a fucking joke here, fellas. Jesus Christ!
I
just wasn't going to jump in.
Oh Jesus! I'm fine, everybody. I'm really good.
I know you are.
I just hate when my brother jumps on me. That's it. It's fine.
I know. You guys will hug it out.
Yeah, it's fine. Everything's fine. We're good.
All right. Let's leave it here. How do we follow everybody?
I am BeardedConnect03 on Twitter.
I'm at Schneids on most social media.
Follow me at KEVOLE.
No, that's
shit. Oh, sorry. No, I'm Gordhouse09 on Twitter.
Tyler is TNOBLE. I am KEVOLE. Podcast_hockey. Facebook.com, The Hockey Podcast. YouTube.com, The Hockey Podcast. Give us a like and subscribe. Check out our contest. Retweet our stuff. You can enter into getting tickets of things. We thank the Pig and Duke for helping us out and partnering with them. And thanks everyone. We'll talk to you all very soon. Bye for now. Clip it.
Sean sucks.